Hey everybody, Josh here, and this is the weekly update for Redeeming Grace Church. It's June 28th, a Monday, and we have just a few things coming up. One is this Sunday, July 4th at 6:30 p.m. We're going to be doing a block party right here at the Ministry Center, 140 North Street, and we're going to have hot dogs and inflatables and cotton candy and snow cones and everything else we can think of. And we'll just enjoy the time right out here in the front of the Ministry Center with the grassy area out there. And then whenever they shoot off the fireworks, usually at dusk, 9:30 or whatever, they're going to shoot off fireworks over Executive Golf Club. And we think we'll have a pretty good spot here. So we would love to have you come. We have, I think, around 30-ish people that are already signed up to come. And we would love for you to come join us. We've got some people from the neighborhood that have registered to come. And we would just love to have that fellowship time together. And there's just going to be it's going to be a lot of fun and a great opportunity for us to connect with each other. Hopefully meet some of our neighbors and fellowship together. Go to rgcrc.org, click on events, and you might have to go up into the little tab because I think the default page just shows the worship services, but you can look at all events and then see everything that's going on. If you would register, that will help us plan to make sure that we have enough supplies and food and everything, activities and all that kind of stuff. So that's the big thing coming up this week. Hills Alive is coming up later. We've got someone in our church that's going to organize some volunteering at Hills Alive, and so we stay up to date or stay connected in terms of that. We'll get some information out as soon as we know kind of what we're thinking. And then there is a VBS that's happening on Ellsworth Air Force Base. I think it's the third full week in July. One of our members, Canyon Shearer, is leading that, and I know that he would love to have some volunteers, and if your kids want to go, there might be a way for them to be involved in that way too. So those are the main things coming up. But the rest of the time in this video, I just want to introduce you to Gary Lydell. Gary and his wife Joanne moved here a month and a half ago or so to be part of our TPA program. And so I just want to take a few minutes to introduce him to you, for you to know a little bit about who he is and what he's been doing in the life of the church. And so Gary, will you tell us a little bit about yourself and Joanne?
Well, yes. As many of you already know, I recently retired back in January from 25 years work in law enforcement at the Sheriff's Department in Michigan. Through that time, the last 4 years, I've been going through training, through seminary training, and felt like even at the conclusion of my training or schooling that I needed more hands-on work, more actual practical work that I could do in a church. And I was actually looking through different job sites and things like that, and I came across the TPA. One of the churches, I think in Yankton, was looking for somebody to be an associate pastor, but in that process they were congratulating another guy who got accepted into the TPA program, and so it kind of cued me off to see, hey, what is this about? And that led me to look into it. I think it was that within that day I called the TPA guys and talked to them. It was kind of happened really fast. I spent about 3 hours in different times talking to Ryan and different people who are involved in that, and they did an interview, and everything kind of checked out, and here I am now. We came in here I think it was May 6th. Was it May 6th? I don't know. Time's
Almost
going by
2 months.
fast.
Yeah.
Now it seems like we've been here, I can't remember. It just seems like it's gone so fast, and we've been here a long time, but at the same time, it's only been a couple months. It took a while to settle in, and we love the city, and especially love the mountain views and the opportunities to hike and those things that we enjoyed even in Michigan. But it steps it up to a new level here with the altitude and just the incredible Mount Rushmore and all the stuff like that. So it's been a real challenge as far as learning new church stuff and trying to work out a schedule and adjusting from going from 25 years of working in law enforcement and working a schedule, and I did the same thing every day for 25 years. Now I'm trying to kind of recalibrate that into a different way of thinking. Yeah. And what I'm learning, what I've learned from you is that things just happen sometimes, and you just go with the flow. And a set schedule can be helpful, but you got to kind of be flexible and work around things that way.
Yeah, for sure. And just to let you know that you've maybe heard the word TPA or Timothy Pastoral Apprenticeship, that is a group of churches began partnering together, probably 10, 12 years ago, and to start training guys within their church who felt called to pastoral ministry or even just eldership in the church. Really, here in South Dakota, there's not a lot of theological training that a guy can get in a formal level. And so you're sending them off to seminary, they get all of this debt. Sometimes they're really not even with their schooling in an institution, are not that good at doing church stuff. And so just putting all of that together, there seemed to be a need for local church training that was sort of a seminary alternative or supplement that allowed the rigorous academic work, but also the practical in the trenches training as well. And to do that here locally, so that we were actually training pastors for our churches locally, as opposed to sending them off far away to come do ministry here. And so the idea is really to put the formation of pastors and elders back under the responsibility of the local church. And with technology, we're able to do a robust academic portion and still add a real practical apprenticeship program. So it's not accredited or anything like that. We're thinking about how we can do that, but there's a number of churches that are involved in this, 15 across South Dakota and spread out kind of around in different places. Handful of students, there's probably 8 or 9 students that are sort of at different times active in the classes. And if that's something that you might be interested in, I'd love to talk to you. We do it in coordination with South Canyon Baptist. That was the church that started our church. I served there. I brought it to South Canyon Baptist, and then we've extended it over here. And it's been a sweet thing to just see those who are aspiring to ministry and pastoral ministry have an avenue to do that without having to relocate or pay a bunch of tuition to be able to do that here. And that was part of what drew Gary here. What have been kind of your impressions of the church? What have you thought of our current sermon series through the parables?
Oh, it was really kind of an eye-awakening, and like so many times we hear in our past, because we came out of more of a super hyper-dispensationalist kind of background. So a little bit of that in the parables is really so focused on the kingdoms and what it's telling us. I think that's been kind of eye-opening, and seeing what Christ is and what he wants us to get out of that. And it's not about, like we've been talking back and forth, it's not about what we're supposed to do. It's just the thing we can rest in at the same time, and at the same time, I think, motivate us to be the light where God has planted us. And for Joanna and I, it's been that's been a little bit of a struggle coming from moving. We miss our kids are all over the place, so we're adjusting to a new place, a new state, new culture, and so we're just trying to understand how God's even in this working that out. In this dramatic change in our lives, and her leaving Love Inc. in Michigan, where she had this nucleus, and me leaving the familiarity of my work and trying to just kind of root in here and get involved here in a special and tangible way, but yet still we're growing. Yeah. That's what's been. I think that's been the biggest challenge, just to tie it all together. That's part of, I think, what God's trying to work out through us is how we can follow him and still have the other stuff going on around in our family, and not be able to have that to go, hold on tight to it, but let go of it loosely. Yeah. Hold on to it loosely, I guess, is how we've been struggling with it. So we keep moving forward. I think that we're starting to make friends here at Redeeming Grace, and that's been great. It's just been hard adjustment, because things were starting to really mold in there, but God seems to keep moving us. So that's been a big struggle, to be honest. Yeah, that's
part of the process, I guess. Yeah. So you've got a son and daughter and grandkids in Peru doing missions work, which is something people could be praying about, because Peru's crazy.
It is. It's really crazy. And if the things they recently find out is they had to hire somebody to help them buy a car, because they'll take advantage of you there, and the cost of things is less, but it's harder to get things at the same time. Going to simple thing like going to the grocery store, we take for granted. Most of the time, you really got to just buy ingredients there. And so if you wanted to make a cake or whatever like that, you don't just go buy a Duncan Hines thing. You would have to buy each separate ingredient, and then on top of it, it's in Spanish. So some of the things they're adjusting to with that culture and the availability of things it's been a huge challenge. But it seems like they're starting to adjust, and that's been exciting to see. We get to FaceTime with them now and then, and it's been cool to see the kids are smiling and they don't have the same stress level that they did at the beginning.
Yeah. And you got one kid in the UK and then one up in the Northeast, right?
Right. So Tyler's my youngest one. Him and his wife are in London, and they love it out there. Except he's always complaining about their restrictions there, so it's kind of like tightening up. So you're allowed to go outside when you exercise. So it seems like he's finding excuses to exercise a lot without a mask.
Yeah.
And then we have the one son in the Coast Guard who has 4 of our grandchildren in Maine. He's in the Coast Guard, and he stays pretty busy.
Yeah. So be praying for Gary and Joanne as their kids and grandkids are spread all over, and they've relocated here, and just wrestling through what that looks like to get their feet under them here and what the Lord has for them here. And Gary's actually going to be preaching this coming Sunday on the parable of the net.
The parable of the net. Yeah, you gave me a really good one.
I gave you a tough one.
A weeping and gnashing of teeth at the end. So I'm excited about just diving into it. I've been diving into it for the last week, but just kind of assembling the puzzle pieces that I've stumbled across. But I'm excited about just being able to see what God's telling us through that parable.
Yeah. I've so appreciated having Gary and Joanne here, getting to know them and their investment in our church. It's been really fun just to have someone to dialogue with here in the office. Gary is spending almost full-time hours basically here, just spending time with us and doing things and working and reading and all of those things. And so I've really enjoyed my time with Gary and getting to know Joanne. And so keep praying for them as they continue to just try out different ministry things and get a feel from the church on the inside. Just pray for God's direction and work in them, and thank them as they invest and serve you, as Gary brings the word this Sunday, and they're greeting in the lobby and ushering and all the ways that they're serving in the life of the church. Give thanks to God for them, encourage them, and we look forward to the ways that we will be mutually beneficial in this season of ministry together. So I love you. I'm grateful for you. Thank you for all the ways that you serve in the church, you pray for the church, you give to the church. God has been so kind to us, and this is a sweet family. And so I'm so grateful to be your pastor. And if there's any ways that I can be praying for you or serving you this week, because Gary's preaching, I've got some extra time. So if you want to get together and don't forget the events that are going on. Look for some way to encourage another brother or sister in Christ. Look for an opportunity to share the good news of the kingdom with your neighbors, your coworkers, a family member, and let's just continue to follow Jesus together. Have a good week.